Chapter 24. Billy followed at the back of the caravan, along 68 and through Tellico, the sun beginning to set and casting ghostly shadows across the road, until the procession stopped on River Road. The line of vehicles was so long it was impossible to see the reason. After about 5 minutes of speculation, Billy exited and walked along the edge of the road until National Guard troops and large green transport vehicles parked sideways as a blockade came into view. He almost stopped and retreated to his van, but decided to get details. Tinker stood off to the side and held his cell to his ear, pacing like a caged lion before stopping and waving his hands in animated argument, as several other uniformed deputies stood waiting. At that point, Billy spotted one of the officers that they had interviewed for the show standing near the back of the group. "What's up?" Billy asked him. "National Guard. They won't let us through. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen," he said, and after looking over his shoulder and stepping away, he added, "And that includes us going into the mountains. This is a disaster." "Maybe Tinker will give up," Billy said. "Not a chance. He'll find a way. Tink gets what he wants." At that point, Tinker put his phone in his pocket and yelled, "Let's turn around. Follow me." The comment sent Billy scurrying back to the van, and the procession passed him traveling back toward town. As soon as he arrived back to the van, he threw the vehicle into gear. "What's up?" Robo asked. "Road was blocked. National Guard. Sheriff's got other plans, so we follow." Billy turned to make certain Petra was filming, and, of course, she was. "This is crazy," Robo said as the van raced to gain contact with the train of other vehicles. "It's gonna be dark before we get going." "It doesn't matter anyway. We're not going to do any good. I'm only interested in all of us getting out of the mountains alive," Billy said. "I'm wondering if we should just break off and go back to the motel." "We've come this far," Gable said. "Let's see what happens." So they followed. The road twisted and fell before rising once more as the mountains and shadows blanketed them. With the last of the sun's rays dying, they turned onto a steep dirt road and then crept along what must have been a Native American trail sometime in the past. Deep gullies bounced them off their seats. If they had driven off the road, only rows of trees would have broken their descent and kept them from plummeting hundreds of feet down the mountain. Finally, they arrived at the top, with only one picnic table and a couple of concrete slabs that had probably held fire towers, sitting on top of the world. Only faint specks of streetlights and the glow of Cleveland, Tennessee, could be seen in the distance. Word came back through the caravan that the group would set up camp, a control center, and would leave in 2 hours. The consensus of the Bigfoot hunters was that Tinker thought the creature was nocturnal and would more than likely be out deep into the night until the early morning hours. Billy managed to migrate his team away from the surly group of men they had encountered at the courthouse, picking the most agreeable gathering he could determine. After preparing their night vision and hiking gear, they settled in to wait. Billy pulled a fold-out chair nearest to the men and decided it might be best to make friends. "Maybe we'll have luck," Billy told a taller gentleman who, well, he's fit in, seemed an infiltrator, a secret agent, an academic sitting on a cooler. "I'm not hopeful, but I'm out of the house," the man said. The others with him laughed. "So you don't think we'll spot anything?" Billy asked him, smiling. "I don't really know," the man replied. "We might," another prodded. "You don't know." "I do know I've never seen a Bigfoot. I've been out in the woods for the majority of my free time for most of my life." Another hunter chimed in. "I've never seen a chipmunk, but they're in the woods." This man was definitely comfortable in his own skin, and it was clear this was the usual banter between this group. He spit tobacco juice through his two front teeth and cradled his rifle as comfortably as a woman holds the least of her 6 children on a cocked hip. "They've been captured, too. A Bigfoot hasn't." Bigfoots are shy creatures, Billy said. The first man smiled. Obviously, he said. I've never seen a carcass or skeleton either. They probably get eaten. Creatures eat bones and even deer horns, the second hunter said. Have you ever seen a bear skeleton? Well, no. I've never seen a rat lion in the woods either, said another of the hunters. I have, the first said. I know they get eaten pretty quick. Turkey hunters see them all the time. The horns are still lying around during turkey season. Have you ever seen a human skeleton out in the woods? The second hunter asked. Again, no, the first raising his eyebrows. I just think at night your mind can really play tricks on you. I was hunting one evening, and as usual, I got out of my stand and it was already dark. Right then, I heard something crashing through the woods, literally breaking trees. It wasn't footsteps, I have to admit. It was one of the few times I've been frightened in the woods. Of course, it was in bow season, and there I stood with only my bow. It couldn't have been a bear, and I thought the only thing it could possibly be was an elk. They're so rare here, though. Oh, what happened? Billy asked. I mustered my courage and flipped on my light. I thought for sure I was going to have to shoot something. It was a cow. She went on by, crashing through the brush. The group laughed. Have you guys ever seen it on one of your expeditions? I mean, really? The men had recognized them and said nothing. Not on an expedition. Not that we could be sure. Bigfoot's out here, though, I'm sure of it. Well, we're not going to be doing knocks and calls, the hunter told him as he stood and retrieved a bottle of water. We're going to be knocking down those trees like that cow did. You'll know an hour before you get there, Billy thought. People were moving. The group was already walking into the deep woods. Instead of walking in a single file line, Tinker had decided they would split apart and form a long wall of people to flush the Bigfoot out. Maybe the sheriff thought Bigfoot would only follow the trail. It was a stupid proposition, and before long the men were no longer able to traverse the hillside, full of brambles and brush and impassable. As easily as Tinker was navigating the dark woods, he had difficulty believing the rest of the group would have any trouble. He was dead wrong. They did manage to walk the better part of 2 miles before taking a break, though. Robo and Rink were navigating. They were almost certain the mountain where they had parked was on Buck Bald. They attempted to follow along with GPS. Meanwhile, Petra was struggling to film and still remain upright. As solid as she was in every way, she was struggling even though she said nothing. Sensing that this was nothing more than an exercise in futility, Billy realized they had had enough. He told his group they needed to rest. The notion was popular, and before long the entire line had sat down and leaned back where they were. If it was a general strike, it was a good one that brought the trek to a halt, and that was what brought Tinker to them. They heard his angry footsteps and words before he came into sight. He would not have made a good general. His troops would have abandoned him. Do we need a break already? Tinker asked as he neared them. It's been a long night, Sheriff, Billy said as he stood. Petra had leaned back and closed her eyes. Her equipment lay strewn around her. You and your team have night vision. You haven't found Bigfoot. We plan to. That's probably why you haven't found him. You're too soft. I don't think you'll get anywhere close to him, Billy said. He'll know. He'll know, Tinker smirked. He'll know all right. These boys are going to take him down or run him out of town. Okay, whatever. This is your circus? I'm just one of the clowns. I've got an idea. Why don't you take your team and head on back to town? Don't go with us. In fact, it's not a suggestion. Get the hell out of here. If Bigfoot in fact didn't commit this crime, maybe one of you did. We don't need suspects tagging along. One of us? Yes, one of you. Tinker spat. He looked at Gable, who, despite the accusation, seemed to not even notice. So, bye. Tinker, a mad dog ready to pounce, glared down at Billy. You have no idea what you're doing, Billy said as he turned to grab his backpack and leave. We don't, do we? Tinker said with venom as he followed Billy and stood behind him as if he might shove him to the ground at any moment. Billy sensed the man behind him and turned to face him, and now he too had a look of vengeance on his face. His eyes narrowed. You, Billy said, don't know a damned thing. Robo walked between them and stood staring at the sheriff at eye level. We'll be going, Sheriff, Robo said, smiling. Good luck to you. Tinker turned and stormed away. He could be heard telling the men to march ahead. Their investigation would proceed. Come on, gang, let's go home. The men disappeared ahead as the Bigfoot team gathered its belongings. You good to go for a bit, Petra? Rink asked. I feel better now. Let me carry some of this stuff. Me too, Harrison said. They began to walk back to their vehicle, this time strangely silent, weary, and defeated. A mile later they stopped to rest once more. Fatigue had won this battle. As they sat recuperating, Petra dozed, like Stephen, her head tilted toward heaven, peace wiping clean her face. Rink worried about home. Billy worried about the show and their efforts to find Bigfoot. Robo's mind went blank. Harrison dreamed of commercials and fame. Gable sat with the look of a man who had nightmarish memories of tragedy that would not leave him, no matter what manner of mental tricks could be applied. Robes, Billy whispered. Listen. It was as if the summer-baked hillside had been blanketed with snow, shrouding them in utter and complete silence. Heat goggles, he whispered again, this time almost as if he was holding his breath. Robo scanned the forest and then put on his night vision. That was when he heard the sound, too. Footsteps, and then silence once more. Then the rustle of leaves. A twig breaking? Anything? Billy asked him. Robo was silent for a moment, and then said, Nothing. From far away they heard a knock. Answer it, Billy said. Robo raised his walking stick and struck a tree, sending an echo down the mountain. 10 minutes later, still bathed in silence, they walked again, this time all the way to the top of the hill, back to their vehicle, and then to the motel in silence, defeated.